Welcome to today's show. Tucson Luxe Living features exceptional products and services for the area's top consumers, bringing together high-end real estate, business, money, and lifestyle. I'm your host, Alicia Kramer, local realtor supporting the area's business professionals with their personal real estate needs. And today's guest is Mike Wolf. He is a multimillionaire investor, entrepreneur, and international speaker. And we are going to be talking about real estate investing and creating a lifestyle you love. Welcome to the show, Mike.
Thanks so much for having me. Great to see you.
Yes, I know. I think this is going to be a lot of fun, and I'm really looking forward to just getting into the conversation because you talk on a couple of topics that I think are fantastic. So let's start by talking about your history because you've been doing this for almost 30 years.
A little bit over 30 years, actually.
Okay.
I did my first real estate deal 31 years ago.
Okay. So you're not a novice by any means, and you train and mentor people to be successful real estate investors. So can you share with us what is going on in the life of Mike? What are you out there doing, and how are you contributing with all of this experience that you have?
Yeah, well, it's before COVID, pre-COVID, I was actually, I wouldn't say retired because as an entrepreneur, you can never really fully retire. There's always something that pulls you out of retirement. But I wasn't doing that many trainings. I have, my real estate still goes on. I'm just not on the front lines with it. These days, I'm very much into lifestyle, which I know you talk about a lot. And I travel full time. Before COVID, I was traveling full time. Now I'm a nomad within Mexico. I'm traveling all over Mexico. Right now I'm in Cancun. But normally I'd be traveling globally. And my real estate, one, I created passive income, which is one of the things I love teaching people how to get money that keeps coming in even while you're traveling, while you're volunteering, while you're hanging out with your kids, doing whatever it is that lights you up, whatever freedom looks like for you. If you have passive income, you don't have to go chase after money anymore. And so pre-COVID, I was living off of passive income, traveling full time, occasionally doing some trainings, doing a whole lot of volunteering. And then COVID hit and sent me into hibernation mode for around 7 months. And I'm from Canada, so I went back to Canada for that 7-month period, which is the longest I've been there in probably 6 years. And while I was there, my phone, like the first couple of weeks, I had nothing to do, no flights to catch, no appointments, nothing. It was really nice. I was sleeping in every day, watching Netflix like everybody else does. And then the phone started to ring. Probably 2 weeks into that, friends of mine, I just lost my job. Can you help me? I need to learn how to make money the way I need to know what you're doing. And people, their business is shutting down, same thing. And then I started to get calls from podcasters like yourself and radio shows. Everybody wanted to know what's going to happen with the economy, what's going to happen with real estate, what can people do right now. And as an entrepreneur, a new business was born where I realized, well, if I'm going to help all these people that are stuck, it's better to teach them in large groups as opposed to one at a time. And so, yeah, a new business was born. I basically created a year-long coaching program. And now I teach people not just how do you make money in real estate. I think that's important. The money part's important, but also how do you have a life that you love? How do you get freedom? How do you have happiness and fulfillment? So a lot of the stuff I teach is really personal development, semi-disguised as a real estate course. It's still definitely, there's a lot of real estate in there, and there's a lot of talk about how to make money and stuff, but it's also very heart-centered. And it's all about, to me, if you don't have that balance, you can have all the money in your bank account you want. If you're not happy, if you have money and you're not happy, that's almost worse than having, when you have no money, and I'm speaking from experience because I used to be the guy with no money, but if you have no money and you're not happy, at least you have something to look forward to, where it's like, okay, well, I know once I get to once I have a little bit more money and a little bit more freedom, then maybe I'll find happiness. But when you have all the money in the world and you're miserable, to me, that's really, it's really sad. And I see a lot of people like that. And I used to be that person. So once again, I'm speaking from experience. So that's what we're doing this year, where we're teaching as many people as possible, helping them to get out of with the transformations that we're all going through, and also how to have an awesome lifestyle, not just making the money.
Lifestyle is something that really resonates with me. I don't think probably anybody listening to this podcast realizes that real estate is my second life. So I've been a business mindset coach, which we've talked about this before, for over a decade. And I actually have a book called The Outside the Box Entrepreneur, and it's all about the making mindset and everything that is kind of all wrapped into creating a lifestyle business, which is such an individual thing. um, it's very easy to get caught up in this idea that once you have the money, you're going to live happily ever after. And it doesn't necessarily work that way. In fact, more often than not, it doesn't, because as business people, we tend to be workaholics. Like you mentioned, there's no such thing as retirement for a true entrepreneur, because you just can't. You can't. It's not in your DNA, right? You've always got to be creating something, doing something, involved in something, and growth is a part of the human experience, right? There's the cliche saying, if you're not growing, you're dying, but there's so much truth to it, because sitting around watching Netflix is maybe okay for a couple of weeks, but after a while, you're going to start to get that itch and you're going to want to go out there. You're going to want to do something meaningful. Now, real estate, and I love that you said passive income, because that does afford more of the lifestyle choices. And a lot of people who have a few properties are not really experiencing the type of passive income that truly affords them the luxuries and the lifestyle that they ultimately want. So I'd love for you to talk a little bit about, how do you really start to leverage real estate to have the type of passive income that allows you to be a nomad, and travel the world and do the things that you truly want to do, those things that are the right things for you as an individual.
Right. Well, it really is truly a building game. And so I don't want anybody who's listening who maybe thinks, oh, well, I'm just going to do exactly what Mike says, and by tomorrow I'll be able to travel full time too, because it is a building game. And one or two properties in the short term probably won't change your life. But one or two properties in the long term absolutely will change your life if you do things properly. And because, one of the things that I did is that's different than most investors. I started off like most people, I just invested close to home. And that was okay. It allowed me to get kind of my foot in the door, so to speak, in the investing world. And over time, though, I realized that, well, where I live isn't necessarily the best place for returns. And it's not going to get me as far as I need to get as quickly as I want to get. And so one of the things that I started to do as a Canadian, I started to invest south of the border, and my first US market was Las Vegas. And this is just a little bit before the recession, I bought a bunch of properties there. Back then I was doing mostly some flips, but when the economy changed, I started to buy and hold properties because people were giving them away for next to nothing. And I think we're going to see that again very, very shortly as this COVID continues to unfold. But in any case, I started to pick up some properties and I held on to them. I was already holding some properties in Canada. I had a few, but certainly not to the extent that I wanted to get to. So as I started to hold those properties, the markets are always going to shift. Real estate is very cyclical. And the problem if you're staying in one market, if you're investing only close to home, is that you're missing so many opportunities. So one of the things that I did is, as a market, that market, by the way, Las Vegas, was the hardest hit market in all the United States. And it dropped from its peak to its lowest point. It dropped around 80%. And so a home that was worth $200,000 one year was literally worth about 40 or 50,000 a few years later. And we all know, though, that real estate always comes back. It's always going to bounce back. If you look at the price of lumber right now, for example, you know that it's definitely, it gets more expensive to build a home. And so what I did is, when people started fighting over properties in Las Vegas, I sold them off. Now, if I would have bought more homes in Vegas, I would have been making a lateral move. I would have bought low, sold high, but now I'm buying high. But if you buy low, sell high, and then you go to the next market that makes sense, which in my case happened to be Phoenix, I went and took the money from the properties I sold. And for every home I sold in Las Vegas, I could go buy 1.5 properties without taking a dime out of my pocket. So I literally added 50% more homes to my portfolio without having to go and get loans or save up money or any of that. And I've done that consistently. So now when I left Phoenix, my favorite market right now is Atlanta. When I left Phoenix to go to Atlanta, I literally doubled my portfolio because I went from a much more expensive market to a less expensive market. And now Atlanta is starting to boom. And so when we talk about building, it's not, none of this is get rich quick, but you have to get started. You have to get that everything I own right now it's a result of that first property that I invested in, that I almost talked myself out of investing in 31 years ago. Had I not bought that one, it wouldn't have, I would probably, I don't even know what I'd be doing, but I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be on this call right now with you talking about real estate investing and lifestyle. I'd probably be doing the 9 to 5. And so it is a building game. You have to be realistic. Some people to get started, some people watching this probably are thinking, oh, I don't even have the money to get my first property. Well, I assure you there's actually ways, and I'm not sure if I can share it, but I have an ebook I'm happy to share for free.
Absolutely,
anyway,
yes, please.
yeah, there's ways to get started in real estate with little or no cash. When I first started 31 years ago, I was a starving ex-university student trying to pay off student loans. And so when people come to me and say, oh, I want to get started, but I've got no money, it's like, you are so lucky. When I started, I was trying to get to no money. I was trying to get to zero because I had all this student loan debt. And so, so you can absolutely get started. It won't necessarily be passive. You might have to trade a little bit of time at the beginning to help build the infrastructure and do a couple of deals and get some capital. But after that, you can parlay that and keep building on that. And that's exactly what I've done over the years, except that I didn't have a blueprint back then. I just kind of had to figure it out myself. And that's the stuff I love to teach people. Here's how you do it step by step, depending on what phase you're in, what your financial situation is right now. But the biggest misconception is that people think they have to have a lot of money to get started. And if that was true, I would have never been able to get started. So
tell our listeners where they can get that ebook that you just mentioned.
Yeah, if they go to my website, mikewolfmastery.com, wolf just like the animal, mikewolfmastery.com. There's a link that says ebook, and it's absolutely free, and it talks about the top strategies that are working right now. Even if you're a lot of places are still locked down in Canada, for example. Even if you're locked down, you only have your computer and you have very little cash, you can actually do some of this stuff and get started right away. And it's mostly strategies that require little or no money, because I've always had to be, I don't have to be resourceful anymore, but at the beginning I had to be very resourceful. And so I'm very mindful that not everybody's starting off with a ton of cash in their bank. And I know a lot of people right now are going through big transitions with loss of jobs and loss of businesses. And so I wanted to put that information out there for people that, I'm meeting so many people that unfortunately are feeling helpless, and they feel like that they have no control anymore and things are just spiraling downhill for them. And that's really why I created my coaching program this year. I felt it was just so many people going through so much emotion and so much transition.
Yeah, it's so awesome to see people just step up, and really help out. It's an interesting time that we're in, and the reality is there's always going to be ups and downs. We didn't expect this type of thing was going to happen to our economy, to our world, to, our families. And we're very resilient. And when you've got people who are willing to step up and say, you know what, this is what I feel guided to do. This is what I feel inspired to do. I want to offer this to be of service to other people. And that's how we're going to rebuild. Now, piggybacking on that, you really briefly mentioned, we're probably going to start to see some effects from all of this in the economy and in the real estate market. So I'd really love for you to share with us, what are your thoughts on that? How do you think that the next couple of months and even couple of years is going to look from an investment perspective?
Yep, great question. And what we're likely to see is you can't really shut down the global economy and think that we're just going to go back to 2019 again and things are just going to be normal. 2019 is never coming back. Now, I'm not saying that the world is going to be bleak and everything's, I think the opposite. I think a lot of great things are coming from this. And as you mentioned, we're human beings, we're very resilient, and we will come back, and a lot of things will be different. Some will be better, some might not be quite the way we used to like having them. But what's going to happen with real estate is, I mean, just looking at one aspect of it alone, that there's been a moratorium on foreclosures for pretty much a year now, and that's coming to an end in June in the United States. And that alone means that, and by the way, I'm very glad. I'd hate to see that the banks foreclosing on people in the middle of a pandemic and people homeless, and I'd hate to see what that would look like. So I'm glad that happened, but that's not going to last forever. And once that comes to an end, we're going to see all these people that maybe have been in trouble, but they're still able to stay in their homes because of different government measures. And so that alone, that one statistic of the number of homes people in arrears right now, means that unless all these people happen to find jobs immediately, or their businesses all suddenly make up for all that lost time, there's going to be a lot of people, unfortunately, in trouble. And one of the things I love about being a real estate investor, people say, why are you so passionate about it? It has nothing to do with the real estate itself. It's not windows and drywalls and doors. That doesn't light me up. It's the fact that behind every home, there's a human being or a family that's going through something. Nobody randomly puts their home up on the market one day. They're either moving up, they're moving down, they're getting divorced, they lost a job, whatever it is, there's always a story behind it. And so I like to teach my students that we're problem solvers. And our goal is to go find people who have problems and help them with those problems and put them on the right path, and we get paid for it. And that's what makes it so amazing. So anyway, what we're likely to see, though, is we're going to see some different trends. We're going to see a lot of people leaving expensive centers, going to less expensive places. We're seeing that already happening. Californians, a lot of them are heading your direction right now, and Texas and Idaho. People are in general leaving expensive places, going to less expensive places. They're also going where there's going to be jobs. Because if you just lost your job, the first thing you want is to get money coming in. So the markets that are that I believe are undervalued, such as Atlanta, which is my favorite one right now, it's going to benefit tremendously because they're always creating jobs there. It's very business friendly. So lots of businesses are setting up there, and the cost of living is pretty reasonable there. And so we're going to see markets like that probably start to boom. And we're also going to see some markets that are very expensive and not tax friendly, like California, continue to probably lose population. And right now we're seeing, people are really seeing a big shortage of homes on the market, and they're saying, oh, well, I don't care what you say, Mike, LA's still going up. Even despite all this, it's still going up. That's because there's a shortage of properties. There's a lot of people that don't want to put their homes on the market in the middle of a pandemic. They certainly don't want people walking through them. But a lot of cities like LA and New York City, a lot of these places that are really going to start feeling the effects. Because somebody who wakes up in Manhattan that a year ago or 2 years ago could afford $5,000 a month to stay in their one-bedroom apartment, without a job, that's going to eat through your savings if you have them very, very quickly. And if you don't have savings and you're living paycheck to paycheck, you're pretty much doomed. And so we're going to see some trends, people leaving expensive places for cheaper places. People are getting sick of high taxes. They're going to go to states that don't have or have low income taxes. And real estate in general, there's going to be a lot of opportunity for people who want to be problem solvers and want to go help others in distress. There's going to be a lot of people in that boat, unfortunately. And it really brings back memories, because back in the last big recession, 2007, 2008-ish, I had set up a company called Foreclosure Fixers at that time. And I actually sent out flyers saying, I can help stop the foreclosure. And I would get two different types of people that would call on those ads. And the first type are, sometimes bad things happen to good people. And I can't think of a time ever in history, like right now, where more good people are people that would never have dreamt of missing a mortgage payment in their life or missing a credit card payment. What do you do? And all of a sudden your job is shut down. What are you going to do? So we're seeing a lot of bad things happening to good people. And we managed to help some of those people stay in their homes. And I would be a lender to them, and they would pay me back in installments. We'd stop the foreclosure. But then there's a second group of people, and they typically live way beyond their means, and they're just one paycheck away from being in trouble, but they don't think they're ever going to, they don't want to have that beautiful house and the fancy cars. They want to have all the things that they can't really afford unless they put it on credit. And those people really, really need our help. And so some of the things that I did back in those days that would help give them what I call a soft landing. And what I mean by that is I'd be sitting across the table from them, and I knew if I wanted to, I could get the home run and just take their home for next to nothing. But instead, I'd always make sure that they had money for a damage deposit, or sometimes I put them into a cheaper home of mine. I give them several months rent, money for food. I give them a little bit of coaching, how to rebuild their credit and how to buy something more within their price range. Sometimes, like I said, I do a rent to own on a more affordable home for them. And the reason I tell you all this is I remember there's one lady in particular, and I helped her. I gave her that soft landing. And she told me a couple of months after I'd helped her, the day that I got your marketing materials, I was actually thinking of taking my life. And so when we're out there on the front lines helping people with their finances, that's the tip of the iceberg. We don't know what lies beneath that iceberg. People are going through a lot of emotion. If their finances aren't good, pretty good chance their relationships aren't going very well. Pretty good chance that their health isn't doing very well if they're under stress and they're depressed. And so to me, this is a calling. And this isn't just a job or a way to make money, or I don't need any more businesses. To me, this is really my calling. And so when you said, oh, it's funny how people step up to the plate. It's like, I feel like I don't have I couldn't with a clear conscience not help these people in trouble. And that's really why I created the coaching program. Because at first I was thinking I'm going to set up foreclosure fixers again. And then I thought, well, that would be cool. I can maybe help 50 or 100 families this year. But if I want to think on a much grander scale, what if I trained a whole bunch of other people to be these problem solvers in the markets that they're in? How many people could we help? And so to me, this is really my calling. So I really appreciate you having me here to talk about it, because I get very excited, as you can tell. But yeah, I just think that's what we're heading into, is a lot of people in distress, a lot of people needing help. And I think if everybody knew what I knew, they'd be so optimistic right now. So I think the planet's going to be, we're heading to some amazing times. Whenever we hit rock bottom, you're always going to bounce.
Absolutely.
And so we're heading into some great times, but a lot of people just don't see it yet. And I know there's a lot of people just in a really tough spot. And when you're depressed, you can't often see what's beyond the four walls around you. And so I want people to have hope and inspiration.
Yeah. Now, I absolutely love everything that you shared. And there are a lot of people who do, I think, initially think to themselves, I'll get into real estate investing for the money. But I mean, at the core, most people are genuinely good people. Sure, there's a few outliers. There's some people that are really, in a bad place themselves, and you can't give what you don't have. But once you get to a place within yourself where you can give, you can be of service, it really is about that win-win. And that's exactly what you're talking about, right? It's not just about me and what I can get. It's about when you get, I get, and we both win. And that is a much bigger picture of real estate investing. So sure, it can be all about the money, and there are some people that's all it's going to be. But for people who are looking for something that is going to afford them the lifestyle that their heart desires and be of service to other people, the approach that you're talking about is so spot on for those people.
Well, the interesting thing is, though, that I found out is when I did that foreclosure fixers business, like I said, I could have easily got home run after home run after home run. But instead what happened is I left something on the table for the person on the other side of the table. But if that person just lost their job, well, guess what? They probably worked with 10 other people that just lost their job. So they would send their friends to me and their coworkers to me. And then I started to get a reputation for what I was doing. And then the banks, especially the private lenders, started to call me and said, hey, you helped my client, Joe Smith. We've got a whole bunch of other people in the same boat as him. What can you do for them? And so I really believe in karma. And I think when you do things properly and for the right reasons, you'll actually make more money doing things that way by creating win-wins than you'll ever do doing the home run. You'll get your home run here and there, and you'll probably be in the industry for a certain amount of time. And then you're getting, especially if you're taking advantage of people, you will not last in this industry that long, because it's pretty close knit. The most successful people, we all know each other. We all hang out, we all talk. And so I think when you do the right things, you'll have longevity. So I've been doing this for 31 years. And things will come effortlessly to you. You won't always be chasing that next paycheck. And I think if you live by those values and standards, not only will you have the money will come in effortlessly, but you'll actually have happiness and fulfillment, and you'll go to sleep at night feeling like you did something really helpful. I just actually did a TED Talk in January in Las Vegas, and my talk was actually on happiness and fulfillment. And a lot of my happiness and fulfillment comes from the stuff that I get to do within, the being a problem solver in real estate. And to me, if it was just about the money, it would have been, I mean, I would still have an awesome lifestyle, but I don't think I would have the happiness. And if you have the money, but not the happiness, I think you're really missing out, especially not fulfillment. And fulfillment really, in my mind, the biggest source of fulfillment is helping others. And so anyway, I just feel very blessed that for whatever reason I have gotten to the position that I'm in and where I can help a lot of people. And I love doing win-win in all aspects of business. And I think all my best friends are all of the same mindset. And so a lot of the people, like I said, I've seen people get some pretty big paychecks, but 3 years later, they were doing something else. And so I think it's really important.
Yeah, so good. All right, so I want you to tell everybody one more time what your website is so that they can grab that ebook and learn more about what you're doing.
Yeah, it's very easy. It's my name, Mike Wolf, mastery.com, mikewolfmastery.com. And wolf, just like the animal.
Awesome. And I would also love to give you an opportunity to just leave us with any closing thoughts.
Well, I think the biggest thing, especially right now, since we're still in the midst of COVID, is I see so many people, like I said, that are losing their optimism, they're losing hope, they're just they feel like they have no control over their lives anymore. And so I just want to say that if you're one of those people right now, it's like take this time to just be calm, reinvent yourself, take this downtime. For me, I would have never been able to create some of the things I've done in this past year with my old lifestyle. If I didn't have this kind of year with a little bit more downtime, a little bit less hopping on flights, a little bit less running around to create more things to help people. And so take this time to educate yourself. Like I said, 2019 is not coming back, so don't just bury your head in the sand and waiting for this to all end and hope that your old life is going to be there. Instead, be proactive. Take this time, do some reading, whatever it is that lights you up, whatever it is that inspires you. Now's the time to reinvent yourself and start using this extra time to learn and take time to be proactive. And I think if you do that, you might look back in the future and think that, believe it or not, as weird as this may sound, COVID was actually a really good thing for you because it put you on a different, better path. And I know even for myself, I'm normally a very nomadic world traveler. And this year I've been limiting myself just to Mexico, which it doesn't suck. You have to make a country, it's not bad, but it wouldn't have been what I would have chosen for myself. And yet it's been an amazing year and I feel more fulfilled than ever because I've been able to help more people. I feel very happy. I feel so optimistic and I want everybody to feel that same way. And so that would be my parting words.
Awesome. Awesome. I love it. So thank you, Mike, for just sharing your energy because it's absolutely awesome. And thank you everyone for tuning in. Make sure that you subscribe for more amazing guests. And with that, I'm just going to say, thanks again, Mike. And
thank you for having me.
And thank you. And we will see you next week.